My boy Kinro with that big character development in this episode. Whew, that was a pretty hype moment. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It is Flame. Welcome everyone back to a brand new video. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I am covering episode 13 now of Dr.Stone, and it's heating up. Here we go. We are finally getting introduced into the Grand Bout, the tournament that we have been waiting for ever since that Senku stepped foot into, I guess, the village, per se, and we met all these new characters, and it's finally time, and it's the moment throughout all this. But first things first, I don't want to talk about the Grand Bout. I want to talk about the material process that we see within this episode here, because it definitely was the fastest pace that we have seen so far within Dr.Stone, because I feel like within one episode per each, we saw one material get made, like if it was the Edison light bulb, right? Or if it was making iron or even making glass. This episode, it showed a lot of things that Senku, Chrome, and all of our other cast made of getting a step closer into making the medicine, which is almost happening because, of course, in the last episode, we see them going through the dangers of Mother Nature to get the sulfuric acid that makes the whole bunch of ingredients that we see in this episode get made by, of course, Senku, our main character. So let's talk through that first. So after they get back right here at the start of the episode, we see them making the process of these materials, that they are so close of finally getting this material to actually give the medicine to save Ruri's life. And of course, the Grand Bout starting of Kinro and Kinro getting ready, and even Kohaku as well to fight against Magma. But some of the material that we see, of course, in this episode is really deadly, and it speaks to people of me, for example. I never took chemistry, science, or anything like that within school. I didn't really bother with it or anything like that. So when you look at the material that Senku is making within this episode right here, I think that a lot of people, even me as well, definitely had Kohaku's reaction to what Senku and Chrome were making as materials for this medicine, because it's weird that within our day and age, we don't really see that. If it's towards medicine, like helping the person, like not dying, for example, or even food or anything like that, it's weird that we don't know the small ingredients or the material that actually gets made throughout this, because when Senku was demonstrating making the material back and forth, it's some material is poisonous that could blind you, or what Senku said, turn into a zombie, or it could really hurt you or potentially even kill you. Some of the listings were like hydraulic acid, chlorosific acid, sodium hydrate, and even urine, for example. Yeah, that was even used in this episode, which was really funny. And to us audience, and even me as well, we're kind of like Kohaku, because it's like, I'm trying to spend my life day in and day out risking my life trying to help my sister, and I'm watching these two guys like literally pee in a jar because it's an ingredient to actually make medicine to help his sister, and poisonous items as well. And you're like, what the F are they doing? Why are they doing this? This is not good. You should not feed my sister poison or even this as well. So it's a really funny reaction, but it's also related to, like I said, Kohaku, of why is this stuff even being made at the exact same time. But there's something that's stopping them though from making all of this. Like even the medicine, it's so close, it's almost within reach. They need alcohol, and alcohol you could only require in this village if you win the Grand Bout. So that's really troubling, because going to the Grand Bout, you know, they wanted Kinro, and of course Kohaku to enter this to defeat Magma, because knowing their characters are the only ones that have physical activity, actually know how to fight. And with Senku and Chrome, they're just a scientist team, but they need numbers throughout all of this. And I love it so much just because they're rigging the game to make numbers, because Chrome and Senku entered this tournament so that they could, of course, stop Magma. But I love it. The comedy in this is just pure gold. But it's smart of them as well, right? Having numbers to defeat Magma is the best thing, because if one person versus him, potentially slow him down, and then when he goes in a round two versus someone else within the group, they could potentially win. Or if he goes into the final round to face one of our characters, he could lose really easy, because of course the other two, or even main character that we know that versed against him, actually took damage towards him at that point, which of course, you know, knowing Senku and all of them, they want, of course, the most trouble for them they could possibly do, because if they win this, they get the alcohol to make the medicine, and they save Ruri's life, basically because Magma wants to rule over this village, and he doesn't even give a crap about Ruri. But Here we go, man. The village. And it was even said in this episode that half a year, or just close to half a year, since Senku actually stepped foot within this village and got attacked by Kinro and Ginro as the guards of the village, he finally steps foot within the village after so long. Like, step one is completed, because we know his journey that he needs all these people to become a member of the Kingdom of Science. The verse, of course, against Tsukasa and his big army was terrifying a couple episodes back. So it's cool to see Senku finally not accepted in the village yet, because no one has to be part of the village to actually go in the Grand Bout, which I was actually surprised about, that as a rule, that you could just let some stranger into your village and they could actually go and potentially try to marry Ruri and rule over the village. So that's not really a smart option, I see, but I guess it is what it is right there. And their plan, of course, is for one of them to not have Kinro versus Magma off the bat. They want him, of course, in the finals of Kinro versus Magma, because he'll be tired by then and Kinro will win really easy, but that doesn't really play out as well. Kinro versus Magma in the first match of the Grand Bout, and we see, of course, the listings as well of Senku versus Kohaku, Ginro versus somebody else, and Chrome versus somebody else at this point. And Magma's goons stops him, of course. The guys that they are try to trick Kohaku of Suika going into, of course, this river to collect these herbs that, of course, Senku and them leave. And with him lying, Senku and that could definitely tell that he's lying. He's just, of course, buying time for Magma to win this event. But with Kohaku worrying about her so much, she goes after him, which is really bad for her point, because if she doesn't make it in time, she will lose her spot in the Grand Bout versing against Senku. And of course, we don't want that to happen, because Kohaku actually knows how to fight at this point. But Suika comes back, no harm indeed. She was, of course, tied up by one of Magma's goons and comes back to see this point afterwards at this fight between, which is actually a really good fight, by the way. You know, between Kinro and towards Magma, I love the fight. But with Kinro's character, we know a couple episodes back right now that he's exactly like Suika. He's nearsighted. He can't see so far ahead of him, which with Magma and his character, by the way, we know from his fighting tactic that he always likes to use brute force and go all it out, but he actually takes a stance because Kinro is actually a worthy opponent. But it's really bad for his character because he can't see so far away. He can only see what's close up beside him. And knowing from Kinro's character, and I love this statement so much that was brought into this episode, and why we had this super character development for Kinro's character, and as Glasses, as he's, of course, a character that didn't really accept science too much. Like, he knew that Senku was a great man, and he's using his science and with Chrome and with Kohaku to make a drug to actually help Ruri and to actually help her stay alive at this point, and that's why he's helping them out as well. But he never really accepted science so much, and what I mean by accepting science is making glasses like Chrome and Senku did with Suika, because Suika was nearsighted, she can't really see, but as, of course, help from Chrome and Senku, they made her see this awesome world and this beauty and everything. With Kinro's character, he's a man. He feels like if science helps him out, he's like not worthy. He feels like he's not strong enough anymore, that he's weak and pathetic and everything like that. And even to my example of if a guy wears glasses, you mean technically like a nerd, you're not really a strong character, etc. like that. But him finally accepting this after Suika comes in and throws, of course, her melon or her glasses toward Kinro and shows him part right here that science is actually helping him out and that he will accept it and actually goes towards Magma at this point, which was an awesome fight because he was actually winning against Magma at this point. So it was a cool character development that I really loved against Kinro's character against Magma at this point. But it's really bad because I feel like going into the future of Dr. Stone with this new episode and further out, I feel like Kinro is not going to win. That's not just a shonen anime at this point. I feel like what they want to do with this anime is take this bad character that wants to rule over this village and not give a crap about Ruri versus a character that actually cares and wants to save her life. That's what they're going to do. That's what I see throughout Dr. Stone right here. So even though that Kinro is a really strong person, he's not going to win. I'm not saying he's going to lose the fight. I feel like he's going to get disqualified because it was the perfect example for one of Magma's goons to throw rocks at Kinro, but the referee was looking at him saying, don't do that or else Magma would be disqualified. I feel like at the start of the next episode, Kinro is going to have that of Magma's going to shout saying, hey, this guy's a cheat. And I feel like a lot of people are going to look at that, because when you look at a fight, if it's like a bar fight or if it was a school fight that you ever saw, you always want to see the people duke it out, right? You don't want any cheats or someone to come in or to help them out or anything like that. It's a one-on-one fight right here. So I could definitely see Kinro being eliminated from that and Magma moving up a step. But it was really good because he did slow him down. Kinro is a person to actually defeat Magma, but from just that help right there that he didn't get the melon head right off the bat, he's going to get disqualified. So that's going to be unfortunate for his character. Chrome versus this other person, I feel like Chrome's going to win, because I think Chrome versus Magma is going to be a good impact about this. Is Chrome going to win? I'm not really too sure about it. It's 50-50 at my point, which I want to move on to the other point of this Grand Bout, which of course is Senku versus Kohaku. I think with Kohaku, after Chrome's battle, she's not going to come back in time. I feel like some people are going to go and try to track her down and that she'll be able to run to the Grand Bout, but she won't make it in time, and Senku is going to win that fight. Kinro will probably win or probably lose against this fight, because what I see in the finals throughout all this is it's going to be Chrome. If he wins against Magma and goes into the final, Chrome wins everything. And I think it would be a good love story. We know from his character he loves Ruri and that he's the perfect man to actually marry her instead of Magma, as Magma of course wants to rule over this village and not care about her. Or if Magma moves up, I feel like it's either Senku or Kinro. I don't think Kinro is going to be it, just because he's like kind of that side character. He's not as strong as Kinro. He's not as strong as Kohaku. He's just there, I say personally, for the numbers. Even though we got huge character development from him last episode, I just don't see him making it to the final. So it's either going to be Magma or Senku to me, or it's going to be Chrome versus Magma, and then whoever goes up, if it's Kinro or Senku at the end, they're of course going to let Chrome win and get of course the deserve from everyone and the applause that, hey, look at this little science nerd actually winning a tough tournament, like literally a physical tournament, and he wins it all, and he even defeated the big Magma, as everyone wants to call it right there. So I think it's going to be of course clear in next episode of Chrome versus Magma, or maybe Senku at the very end versus him, because of course he has that science power. He maybe learns how to fight, everything like that. And that's what the Grand Bout, which I really like. And one more thing before I end this review, which we got a lot of development for Ruri. So mysterious, and I want this so bad that when we see her character, when she sees Senku finally in this village, it looks really familiar to her. And when she goes talking with them, she mentions a last name. And that's really weird, because back in the day, or even to this village, they never know about last names. They just go by their first name. So when Senku hears about that, he's like, how did she know about last names? How does she know my character or everything like that? I think it's because of the stories that we learned from Kohaku and Chrome that Ruri told them, like I think a couple episodes back when they were gaining iron. That's the perfect development for Ruri right here, that someone in the future, and Senku Taiju and Yuzu's time, stepped out of the stone really early and told Ruri about Senku and everything like that that was in the future. So my internal guess of who that person is Senku's father. That's the only person I could see to figure out of how Ruri actually knows Senku in the first place, because we don't know any information about Senku's mother. I don't know if her father got divorced. I don't know if she passed away or not. We haven't really got development about that. The only development that we got from, of course, Senku's family was his father, that of course he gave up his car to buy Senku all of this science stuff right here. So if that's his father, that he magically got out of this stone before everyone else and told Ruri about Senku and about his life in the future and everything like that, that would definitely be a good story for Dr. Stone. And that's really exciting at the exact same time, man. Just after this Grand Bout, there's still so much story going into it, and I love that so much. But yeah, this episode, guys, I did enjoy it. A lot more science work. The only thing they need to stop them from making this drug is alcohol, but to do that, they need to win, of course, the Grand Bout. And to go against the Grand Bout, they had to versus big tough guy Magma that wants to rule over everything. But yeah, everyone, episode 13 of Dr. Stone, I definitely enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this review, make sure, of course, to leave a like, comment down below what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on this episode, and subscribe to the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. But either way, episode 14, I'll bring it to you guys shortly on here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm pretty sure we'll be getting a new opening as well. I'm not too sure. I think we'll be getting a new opening, so it's gonna be good to talk about that as well. But either way, guys, have a fantastic day, and of course we'll see you guys in the next review.